journalists have something called a varvarsomplakat, which is the be careful, be watchful, mindful poster, which is a set of internal rules that the Union of Journalists have of ethical journalism. You wouldn't know it, but that may well be true of all of a great deal of news media at the moment, because they're drowning in the need to make money, of course.
Do you think that theatre should have
But I think we
equal...
should have one. I think we should have one. I've always approached my work as much as I can in a journalistic approach. So, for example, I mean, I think one of the most useful workshops I've ever attended in my life as an artist was a workshop at the Centre for Investigative Journalism in London, 2 weeks, in undercover journalism, and how to do it, how to dig out a controversial story, how to find, how to investigate journalistically. And I am not required to write down all of my sources, but I'll tend to, if I've interviewed people or spoken to people, or if I've read an article, I'll make a list. So I have a bibliography usually for most of the plays that I write, where I can refer to it if anyone was ever going to ask me. But I think of varvarsomplakat, a mindfulness, watchful, self-monitoring set of guidelines for theatre might not go amiss. People would, of course, react on that and say, but that takes away the art, everything will become generic, and that's just not true, because if it doesn't happen for journalism, some of the greatest drama I've ever read has been Vanity Fair Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalism exposés. Hollywood picks it up all the time. But if we were to have one, what would it be? If you write a character based on a real person, fill in the blanks, what would your ethical guidelines tell you had to do? Is a question, and I say there, no, write whatever you want. But it's an internal one, really, where you have a hunch, I believe every theatre practitioner and every writer, apart from the handful of psychopaths that there are out there, which there are in every profession, knows when they're not writing well. They know when they've written something for effect, to try to upset people or shock people or manipulate people, when it's not true to the world of the play. They know it, and that's a varvarsomplakat. It's like when you get that icky feeling where you feel slightly dirty and you want to climb out of your own skin because you've written a line which is just rubbish, and you know it, even if everyone else says, oh, it's really good. You know it. Strike it through. I think we need a bit more of that, actually, killing our darlings. I know it. It's a repugnant feeling when you've written a piece of crap and you're getting away with it. Oh.
I mean, you've been writing for so many years now that have you kind of fine-tuned that sense of what is good and what is not good over the years? For a young writer, how do you find that? Because I think I meet a lot of young writers who love what they write, and I sometimes think they perhaps shouldn't love it as much. Or
I wish I had kept the manuscript of the first play I ever wrote, because it was such a pile of pants. I mean, I was a horrible writer. So horrible, it's toe curling. No one could have imagined that I could have ended up becoming, whatever it is I became. And just horrible, trite nonsense that I was printing up copies and handing it out to people when I was 18, and then that people were like, well, oh yes, it's a good title, and then it's just awful. Well, my advice to a young writer, take it or leave it, is you have no business writing for theatre unless you have first written for yourself and stood on stage and performed it. Unless you've performed your work yourself, please don't start writing for other people. So I suppose it's like the old scientists of yore who used to experiment on themselves. Don't start bringing other poor bastard guinea pigs in to do your lobotomy experiment. I mean, seriously. Try it on yourself first, mate, and see what happens. So that's what I did. I wrote a couple of dreadful plays in my late teens and early 20s, and got I mean, I wrote one rock opera which ended up doing a one-off performance in the West End, believe it or not. I mean, this is stuff that you never speak about, but it was the turkey of the century, you know. Professional singers in they were all performing in Les Mis, and they came in on board on this exciting new rock opera, which I wrote the book and lyrics for, and it was just, as it unfolded, no one wanted to direct it, strangely enough, so I directed it myself, and as it unfolded at the dress rehearsal, I understood that I had written the most trite nonsense ever. But when I came to Norway, I had to write for myself because I had no work. I'd never thought of being a playwright, ever. I mean, it wasn't my remit in the slightest. I never had that as I thought I might write a book one day, but I never thought that I would write a play, and I had to. I scribbled one down when I first came here and put it to the test, and it worked. But I knew this had to be this had to be entertaining. You know, I couldn't get away with anything that was less than excellent.